Thoughts on the wide receiver core after the draft? I'm pretty happy with it. How about you?
It's gonna depend. It's gonna depend because apparently Deebo Samuel's digging in his heels and Odell Beckham Jr. is all cap. I don't know. That situation could get ugly, and if you take Deebo Samuel out of that group, then all of a sudden it doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
I like Danny Gray. Word on the street is though sometimes, and I think our boy Croc broke this down. He doesn't use speed in his routes. And it looks like maybe sometimes when he knows the ball is not going towards him, he doesn't run his routes as crisply as he should, which is rumored to be what Shanahan didn't like about Ayuk or was mad about Ayuk. So hopefully that can be coached up. He does get bullied by bigger corners. So, it'll be interesting to see. I think if you have the veterans surrounding him, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. Like, how good do you need your third or fourth guy to be? Particularly where he's running. But West, I think, is pretty good. I know they got a couple of guys, Talon Mack or something like that. Taron Mack. They picked up undrafted free agent. You need a few guys, but I mean, they're gonna be fine as long as Deebo Samuel gets his stuff together, which who knows how long that's going to last.
Yeah, the report that came out, we'll get into it a little later, that he's still kind of dug in his heels, like Matt said, wants to be traded regardless of how long it takes. Whatever, we'll get into that later, like I said. But as far as the wide receiver class overall, I don't think he's going to be moved this year. That's kind of where I'm still at on the matter. I was a little swayed once we got closer to the draft. And by the way, can we just talk about how off these reports were? The reports that the Jets were offering 10, 38, Elijah Moore, plus next year's second round pick.
Yeah, that's Vincent Frank, and that dude's like,
yeah, okay,
he just makes stuff up. But I'm gonna put his name on it because you can't just say that stuff.
No,
there's been multiple times with this dude
that they were offering something that the 49ers just simply couldn't refuse. And I saw that from the bigger name outlets too. They didn't get into the specifics, but then it comes out draft day, they offered 10 and then essentially a pick swap later in the fifth round.
And that wasn't even true either. It was reported after the fact that the actual offer was number 10 and a fifth round pick for Deebo and a second.
Yeah.
Which is insane. That, I mean, why even dial the phone at that point?
It is wild. It really is wild. The conspiratorial part in my brain is thinking maybe Kyle Shanahan's like, hey, Robert, give us a shit offer so we can turn it down. Tell Deebo and his agent that we actually did field calls for you and nothing was worth taking. But obviously that's likely not what happened. But yeah, I just thought it was funny how off these reports were. And maybe Deebo Samuel is completely overestimating his value in the NFL. I don't know, but it was a little wild.
That's possible. And he's just overplaying his hand in general, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what the contract for him actually ends up being, considering what AJ Brown got, and the compensation that AJ Brown got is something the 49ers aren't interested in. So I just, it's something that, again, it's you're going to have to work it out with him eventually. And we're going to see how serious he is as it gets closer to mandatory reporting time. And he runs the risk of, ruining his unrestricted free agent status by holding out. That would not be something that would be good for him. And it looks like the 49ers are going to play hardball with him, as they should. They have all the leverage. It's going to be an ugly situation, which you hate to see. You just wish that, because I think they want to pay him. And I think if he just comes to the table, they'll get something done.
Yep, I agree. And I think the report that we saw that trade and sign that we saw on draft day that you just referenced with AJ Brown to the Eagles, and then they subsequently signed him to 4-year, $100 million with what, like 57
guaranteed. Yeah.
That is what
that's low guarantee, by the way.
Yeah. And that's basically what Deebo was asking for. I cannot imagine him getting that. AJ Brown has been more productive for longer, more consistent, I should say, than Deebo Samuel has. And I can't imagine his contract reaching that or topping it, which it sounds like that's what Deebo Samuel wants.
He's going to have to choose one or the other. It's either going to be, do you want more money or more guarantee?
Yeah.